Doug, how are you?
All right.
How we doing at that end of the table?
Are we staying?
Away from the
Are
camera?
we staying out of jail this week or?
Everybody, yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's not a certainty, but it's reasonable probability.
And we are live, by the
I would say
Good
it really
questions.
wait, but I think they realize we weren't being very serious. All right, I'll call to order the August 8th meeting of the Wyoming County Industrial Development Agency. And our first job is to do a roll call, and I'll start at far end of the table.
Okay, Scott Gardner, IDA staff.
Robin Marshalek, IDA staff. Jennifer Tushka, IDA staff.
Jim Pierce, IDA staff.
Tom McCormick, board member.
Doug Burwanger, board member.
Mark Dad, board member.
Becky Ryan, board member. Nicole Hastings, board member.
Joe Gozowski, board member.
Kevin Zanner, IDA counsel.
All right, it appears we have a quorum. We have a copy of the board minutes from June 13th, or the board meeting, I should say the board meeting of June 13th. And I'll give you an opportunity to look through those quickly. And anybody have any discussion or changes that anybody feels are warranted? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Move as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We also have the financial report from the end of June, and I'll ask Robin to highlight anything that appears
Okay,
unusual.
we actually have June and July's because we didn't have the June or the July meeting. We started out in June with $200,801 in cash and $1,986,997 in invested funds. We had some bank interests. We brought in management fees from the BAC and Business Center. After our monthly expenses, we ended up the month with $2,186,171 in combined cash and investment funds. We won't look at the budget for June because we'll go to the July budget in a minute, but into July, we had interest on our CDs of $20,000. Our monthly expenses, and then we ended up the month with $152,102 in cash and $2,007,010 in invested funds. And then on the back is the most current budget for July. And as you can see, we're actually a little more than halfway through the year, and we're not showing that we're over on much, but we're also not up to par yet on everything, so on our revenues. So we're still working on closing some stuff.
Any discussion or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the financial report for June and July.
I'll motion to approve June, July financial report.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
First the TPI report.
Don't have to be on report.
TPI, I think it's named
No, we didn't have resolutions on it.
Okay, Jim, could you discuss action item 3A?
Sure, be happy to, thank you. Hillcrest Industries, which is located over in Attica. They manufacture these glass beads primarily from recycled glass. Those glass beads are sold in traffic control types of companies for their reflective nature. They also do sandblasting and coating work there as well. Not too long ago, this board approved the expansion of a warehouse over there, and subsequently they are in need of a second building, primarily in the coatings division where they do the sandblasting and painting. One of the issues they have is once they blast something, they don't have any place to move it to. And so they're gonna put a crane in this facility so they can just pick the piece of equipment up and move it over within the building without taking it outside and exposing it to the weather and elements. So the building is gonna be about 15,800 square feet, as I mentioned, with a crane. The total capital expenditures are well over $2 million, $2,095,000 to be exact. They have come in for some IDA assistance help. They're not asking for a mortgage reporting tax exemption because they plan on financing the project with internal funds. So they're looking for sales tax as well as a pilot on the property. The company performed extremely well. The son and daughter-in-law now have taken over pretty much running the business. Derek and his wife Jessica. Dan and Tina are still involved, but Kirsch, but not as on a day-to-day basis like they have been. So they're doing really well, and they're asking for some help with this project to move that forward, to make them more efficient. So because the project is going to be receiving more than $100,000 of tax incentives, we are asking the board for authorization to do a public hearing to have the public comment on the proposed inducements that would be in place.
That's a necessity to have a public hearing for that, I
Yeah,
assume.
otherwise they're manually moving things out with forks, and they're marring up the work that they just did. And they did take us on a tour last time we were over there. You know, for this type of industry, you would think it would be really nasty and dirty, but it's really well run, very well kept operation. So
What's the thresholds to have a hearing? Is that at a certain dollar amount?
100,000.
100,000, okay.
Mhm.
Anytime over 100, okay.
So if the board authorizes the public hearing, we will bring it back with the better defined numbers on what the inducements will be. And then any public comments that will be coming. Typically, nobody shows up for these public hearings, except Robin and I kind of recording ourselves, looking at each other, so. But you never know.
I'll make a motion to authorize the executive director to move forward with holding a public hearing for the Hillcrest. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
And moving to 3B.
3B is a company we've been working with quite some time over at Arcade. I think for about 5 years, they've been talking about doing an expansion project. As Doug knows, when they originally built that facility, they had planned to double the footprint of it at some point in time. They're not quite there yet, but they have are running out of room for a lot of their professionals, their engineers, their administrative folks. And so one of the most immediate needs they have now is just to expand the office part of the building for the facility. It's going to be about a little over $400,000 in capital investment. From an IDA perspective, that's not a big project, but there will be some proposed incentives available that would probably net them in the neighborhood of about $80,000 over the life of the pilot and the sales tax exemption combined. So they want to move forward with the process. So we've been talking with council about this, and since there's not a requirement for a public hearing, I think what we'd like to do is just let the board know about this project, and then in between meetings between now and September, we could draft up a resolution that the board could then act on if they choose to about this project. But they're a growing company. They're owned by a company based in Alabama called Ligon Industries, and as you know or may not know, they are a aluminum casting operation. They do a lot of short run work, and they've done quite well all the years that they've been here. And without the application in front of me, I think they're in the neighborhood of like 80 jobs over there now. So done pretty well.
That's what they employ now, approximately. There's any anticipation of increased employment.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think I'm somewhere on that.
Expect six, they did say they expect to create 6 jobs with this project.
Yeah, we'll have the more complete application and resolution for the board to consider then. No action is required today. It's more of a FYI that, I guess, good news that another business is expanding.
If there's no further discussion, let's move to 3C.
Yeah, so this is the solar project based in the town of Castile, previously known as Sun East High View. The project has undergone some ownership changes, as all these solar projects seem to. As you may recall, this project originally came in at about $20 million of capital expenditure. It sat for about 4 years after the board's approval. And as a result of that, their capital expenditure costs have risen now to over $40 million. With that increase in capital expenditure and subsequently increase in the inducements that will be involved, we did a second public hearing on this project, and that has already been done. And right now, I just saw today, I guess it was, that the project, which is affectionately known now as Highview Solar, has put some minor changes on a project agreement. Once that project agreement gets signed, we will issue them the renewed sales tax exemption for the project. One of the things, it's in your packet actually, an email came from Mike Beckner from the project asking, we originally extended this sales tax project, back in on August of last year. It's expiring at the end of this month. They would like to extend it for another year, but it will be, like I said, under the name of a new project, same project, but a new name, new owner. And so I think what we'd like to do today is ask the board for an extension of the 1 year on the sales tax exemption. In the meantime, we will get the project agreement finalized and signed. And if the board authorizes the sales tax exemption, we will issue that after the project agreement is signed. And they also forward their increase of what they owe us in terms of fees for both the IDA and the council, in the difference between a $20 million project and a $40+ million project. So those two things need to happen as well. So I guess, Mr. Chairman, what's on the table is asking for the board to extend the sales tax exemption for 1 year, and then it'll be contingent upon signing the project agreement and receiving the fees.
I don't have a problem moving that, Mr. Chairman.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, do you have further business to report?
Yeah, just a couple quick things. As many of you know, the API business over in Arcade moved out of 2 buildings, vacating, over 100,000 square foot of building space over there. So we've been working very hard trying to find someone interested in moving into there. There was a company in Buffalo that I had been working with called Buffalo Wire that came in, was very interested in setting up their kind of a welding operation. They do a lot of work with metal and welding. They thought the building was too big for their needs. Tried to convince them to acquire the building. I'd find some other tenants for them, but so they decided at least to pass for now. And then there's 2 local companies also in Arcade that are interested in the facility. And so I've been sharing information with a couple companies in that regard. And then the building has been submitted for a couple project leads from the Greater Rochester Enterprise. for projects that would like to come into the region, looking for building space that is immediately available. I also shared with them our 28 acres that's available as well. So there's been a lot of interest in the building, and I would suspect that the buildings probably won't stay vacant for very, very long. I know they are putting either a new roof or repairs on the smaller facility because there is some roof leakage there that's going on. But just want to let the board know there's some activity in regards to those two buildings. Also met with Steele and O'Brien has brought in a new company president. They are owned by a private investment company, equity investment company that always scares me when they come in because you never know what they're going to do. So I'm trying to develop a relationship with the new president, and he told me all of the good things that I wanted to hear, that they plan on growing the business. And actually, they have Penn Turf Products was in part of their building. They moved to Pennsylvania. That freed up another 20,000 square feet for them to move into. They're also looking at kind of tackling a new industry sector, maybe related to AI, and so that's something that they're kind of shooting for as well. But they claim over the next 3 years, within the building footprint itself, they're planning on putting another 50 jobs in there. So the company's done pretty well. Hopefully they'll stay for quite some time. Base Tech in Arcade is also in a similar boat. They were purchased by a equity investment firm, brought in a new president, and I got a chance to meet with the new president as well. They are running out of space. They're in a very aggressive acquisition mode for other like industries. They make electronic components and are exploring additional space, and so we are helping them to do that. And then I had a couple of retail projects that normally the IDA is not eligible to help, but given the circumstances, I think I don't have anything formal on either one yet, but one is a car dealership. We have very few car dealerships left in this county. New cars. And they're proposing a major expansion to their service facility and upgrades to the facility, preparing the business for the next generation. And then the other business is the retail building component business that previously we talked about in Cast Isle, that is retail in nature, that is looking to build a brand new facility. I think with both of these retail projects, one of the things that can be made for considering our IDA benefits is that they're both either in a area that's classified by a distressed area designation, or they border one. That helps kind of get over the retail thing as well. The car dealership one, there is a history of the IDA helping out with a car dealership. There was a pilot that was done for Upstate Chevy over in Attica several years ago when they redid the service facility. So those are a couple of retail projects that will be coming in, and then just wanted to give the board kind of a heads up on those. They are retail oriented, but I think they're both important projects, and I think we should get some strong consideration to helping them out as well.
What are they selling in Cast Isle?
Where the cars?
They're both car dealers?
Well, one car, no, the other one is a building supply.
Gotcha.
Long-standing building supply company.
Gotcha.
So now, we typically don't help retail, but we can if it meets the other criteria.
Yeah,
And we decide we want to.
Yeah, I've talked with Kevin about these already as well. So, we've made cases before. Sometimes it takes the sign off. Kevin, maybe you could explain that of the CEO of the county.
I think that's right for these. So I think what Jim is suggesting is that these projects are located in a census tract that is highly distressed under the IDA Act, or contiguous to a census tract that's highly distressed. That's an exception under the IDA Act for allowing the board in its discretion to incentivize a retail project. There is a sign off, you're correct, from these. It would be wherever the municipality is we're doing this. So in Castile, it would be the town supervisor. We'd have to get a sign off on those benefits before we could provide them.
And if there are any more questions, the only other thing, I just wanted to give the board a quick update on the MK cleanup project, even though the IDA is not a player in that yet. But we're well on schedule to clean the place up by Labor Day. And if anybody's been by there, there's primarily like one structure left that needs to come down. Everything else has been cleaned up. There isn't much in the way of debris laying around the site that hasn't been disposed of. So it's really coming together quite nicely. And the good news is we've had a longstanding designated developer agreement with a brownfield guy that's going to take the project from here into the next phase, which will be the state's brownfield cleanup program, and then the redevelopment of the site. And the agreement that we have with him is going to expire in September. We just got confirmation that they are indeed going to contribute their match for the EPA, which is $50,000. So that will be coming in, and they've agreed to kind of redraft the designated agreement. So they're still in the game. And, more than likely, down the road, it will be a site that will be used for some sort of housing development. Nothing low income or assisted. It's going to be market rate, whatever it is.
That's badly needed.
Yeah.
The ground cleanup, is that over most of the area, or is it centralized in one spot?
Well,
Do you know?
the primary focus of this first phase has been to remove all the construction debris that has asbestos in it. The buildings were in such bad shape you couldn't go in and remove the asbestos, so we're treating all that debris, construction debris, as hazardous waste. They have been able to sort out a number of items from that, like clean blocks and steel and things like that they're recycling. But there's still been a significant amount of debris taken off of there that's considered what they call ACM, which is asbestos contaminant material. And so that's the way we've been doing it, just to get it off site. But haven't heard any complaints in the neighborhood.
I haven't heard one word, not a word,
That's good.
good or bad,
Yeah.
not a word.
That's
And there it
okay.
is, right in the middle of town.
So outside of the building, there's no contamination within the ground itself?
I mean, there is, but that's going to be left for the designated developer to take.
Yeah.
And it's primarily where the petroleum tank farm is still there, and the tanks are still there. We haven't taken those out. We had to leave it partially dirty to get it into the brownfield cleanup program. Because what happens when you get a project like that and you put it into the brownfield cleanup program and you're a private sector developer, you get some really attractive tax credits that helps reimburse your remediation and also provides incentives for redevelopment of the site. And those aren't any good to us as an entity that doesn't pay tax. So it will be helpful to them, and that's really how we got them interested in this to begin with. But, so that's where we are on the MK site, and I think that's the end of my report. Yeah.
Thank you. I've received a request that we examine another matter in executive session. And I'm going to rely on council to get me through this process without making my usual mistakes. And, yes, Mr. Berwinder?
I think that I did speak with Jim beforehand, and the matter involves one of employment compensation and personnel, which the board can go into executive session to discuss.
So I would move that we go to executive session Does anybody have any comment on that? Does anybody oppose it?
Make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and could I ask you, Jim, to stay here?
It was rolling the
Is there
whole
any other
time. just so-
business?
No.
We were recording with that
Annual
audio.
meeting.
I thought you said that would not be a conflict. Or it will be.
It won't be.
Won't be if it's on Thursday.
We're gonna be back.
We'll be back Wednesday.
Yeah,
I get hung up with Woodstock.
That's an idea.
one of the things that always happens at our annual meeting, we try to provide a lunch, and we try to go someplace and visit where we've done a project. We've had a little talk here internally from staff, and we thought maybe we could do something as simple as going up to Sunrise Courts up here on the hill, have her set up a few tables, cater a lunch there, and you guys could take a look at how they make those squash courts, and maybe
that's
get in a game of pickleball if you want. And
Sounds great.
Mark's wheels
She's
are
got a
turning, he's gonna
pickleball
come in
course.
shorts and t-shirt.
It's a driveway, but it works.
It's not official, but
What's that?
we do play
Came
pickleball.
along for the racket.
No, it's like tennis, but it's slower. Yeah, a little bit.
He's falling apart.
so if the board's okay with that idea, we'll follow up with the owners of Sunrise Courts and see if that's something works.
So they do pickleball courts too?
Yeah,
That makes sense.
they have one up there, you can actually. Right, Scott? They have a pickleball court.
Yeah.
up there.
Do they?
I have to put it in my calendar or it doesn't happen. Sorry.
All right, our next meeting then will be September 12th.
And did you want to do a lunchtime at noon, or is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further business before the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Which one have you got?
Becky got it.
Becky got it? Just be quick.